Everyone already knows what hell looks like. A pit of fire somewhere under the ground where the wicked burn and never quite burn away. Hold on to that picture, because more than 2,000 years ago, a man was taken down to see the place of the dead with his own eyes, and what he found there does not match the picture at all. His name was Enoch. The Bible says he walked with God, and then one day he was simply gone, taken. It never says where. An older book, left out of almost every Bible you have ever held, says where. It says he was carried out past the edge of the living world. An angel walks beside him. They cross to a mountain standing at the rim of everything, and in the side of that mountain there is an opening cut into the rock. Enoch goes in, and whatever is waiting in there, it is not one pit, and it is not one crowd, and it is not one fire. It is built, rooms and levels, and an order to it, walls where you came expecting a single pit. But something is missing from it, something everybody watching this is sure should be there. There is no fire. And the whole way down, that is the one question you will keep asking. Where is the fire? Start higher up with the oldest picture of all, the one under everything else. In some of the Bible's oldest pictures of death, there is no sorting at the grave, no good door and bad door. The dead all go down to one place, and the word for it was Sheol, down, a gray country under the ground with no light in it and no heat in it either. And it did not care who you were. A king goes down into it, and the crown goes gray beside him in the dust. A beggar lies down an arm's length from that king, and after a little while you cannot tell which one was which. A man who murdered and the man he murdered laid out side by side in the same silence, neither one of them answering for anything. Everyone together in the dark. No reward for the good, no reckoning for the wicked, and no fire, nobody paying. Stand in that for a second, because a living person should. If the honest man and the man who killed him end up in the exact same dust, then somewhere down here a question has been left lying on the ground with them. Where did the justice go? Enoch is the first man taken down past that question instead of just asking it. He is carried below the land of the living, ready to find that flat gray country the old writers pictured. And it is not what meets him. Something has come in and opened the gray country up, split it, given it walls. They bring him to the mountain, and in its side he sees them, not one hollow, four great rooms carved deep and smooth into the rock, standing next to one another, dark and waiting, each one shut off from the others. Enoch turns to the angel beside him and asks the obvious thing. Why four? Why cut the dead apart into 4 separate rooms? So the angel walks him through them, one at a time. The first room is the only one with light in it. A spring rises up in the middle of the floor, water lit from somewhere inside itself, a soft brightness on the walls. And the good are here, gathered around that water, sitting in the light, resting, not in reward yet, just kept safe and kept bright, waiting for something better that has not come. The angel moves him to the second room, and the light does not follow. This one is heavier and colder, and it holds one exact kind of person. This room is for the ones who did great wrong and were never once made to pay for it. Picture the kind. The man who took and lied and ruined and still died old and rich and comfortable, with a fine funeral and everyone saying warm things over the grave. Up in the light, they got away with all of it. Down here, they do not. They stand in this second room, kept apart, held for a reckoning that never reached them while they lived. 2 rooms so far, light and waiting. Still no fire. The angel turns him toward the third room, and then the angel stops, because Enoch is not listening to him anymore. From inside that third room, out of all that packed silence, something has started to make a sound. Somebody down here is crying. Enoch asks the only question a person could ask. Who is that? Who is crying down here among the dead, where everyone else has gone quiet? And the angel gives him a name. It is Abel, the first man who was ever murdered. Go all the way back to that first killing in the opening pages of the Bible. Not a sickness, not old age. One brother takes the other out into an open field where the ground is empty and nobody is watching, and kills him there and walks home. And the only line God speaks over it is this: listen, your brother's blood is crying out to me from the ground. Not his grave, the ground. A dead man with a voice coming up out of the dirt, refusing to be finished. That blood is what Enoch is standing in front of now. Abel's spirit, still down here, still crying out against the brother who killed him. And it does not stop, the angel says. Not for a year, not for 1,000, not until the day everything alive is finally called to account. A man cut down in an empty field, still refusing to be buried into silence. 3 rooms now, and there is a 4th. The 4th room is the hardest one to understand. The angel does not tell Enoch that these people were innocent. He tells him the opposite. They were sinners, complete in their wrongdoing, companions of the lawless. But then he says the strange thing. When the day of judgment comes, their spirits will not be destroyed, and they will not be raised from here. That is all Enoch is told. No trial above, no release from the room, no reason given for why their fate is set apart from the sinners waiting one wall over. Just a 4th chamber cut away from the rest, holding people who do not rise from it. Look at what these 4 rooms actually are, all together, cut into one mountain. The good, waiting in the light. The wicked who escaped, waiting for the bill. The murdered, crying until they are answered. And a 4th group that will not be raised from where they wait. 4 separate fates for 4 kinds of dead. The one flat gray country has been sorted into 4. And in not one of those rooms is there a single flame. Enoch has only come to look, so he walks back out of the mountain, and the story leaves him here. Centuries later, another story opens on a strangely familiar divided world of the dead. But this next witness was not given a tour. He died and opened his eyes inside it. Jesus is the one who tells this second story. 2 men. The first is rich. He eats at a loaded table every single day, dressed in the best cloth money can buy. And to reach that table, he passes a beggar lying at his own gate. The beggar has a name, Lazarus, sores on his skin that the street dogs come and lick, longing for the scraps that fall from the rich man's table. The rich man knows he is there. He steps over him and never once looks down. Then both men die, and here is the turn. They do not land in the same place. The beggar is carried up, lifted into rest, into light, to a seat right beside Abraham himself. And the rich man opens his eyes somewhere else entirely. He opens his eyes in fire. Stop on that, because this is the first one. All the way down through the gray, through the 4 rooms, through the crying, there has been no flame anywhere. And now, finally, a man is burning. And he can see. He lifts his eyes across a huge open distance, and there is the beggar. The same beggar who had lain outside his gate, resting now in the light, cool and cared for. So the rich man calls out, and notice what he begs for: not to be released, not even, at first, for mercy, for water. 1 drop of it, on the tip of 1 finger, laid on his tongue. That is how far down he has fallen. The man who ate off a full table every day is begging across the dark for a single wet fingertip. The answer is no, and the reason is the thing to hold on to. Between the two of them, the light and the fire, there is a canyon, cut so deep and so wide that no one crosses it in either direction. The ones resting in the light cannot climb down to help, even if they wanted to, and the ones in the fire cannot climb up. They can see each other across that gap and never once touch. So now you have a flame, a real one at last. But look at how small it is against the picture from the start. It is one man, in one place, across a canyon, in view of people resting in the light. It is not the world on fire. It is not the ending the whole crowd came looking for, because we are still not at the bottom. The dead are not the bottom. There is a floor beneath the floor. Deeper still, the old texts describe another prison, and this one was never built for people at all. Enoch is taken down into it, and what is chained up down here are not shades, and not the souls of the dead. In the book, these are the ones who came down out of the sky, 200 of them. They once stood together on the top of a mountain called Hermon, and they made a choice, and they fell. If you have followed this story before, you watched them come down. This is where they ended up. Chained, hand and foot, thrown into a dark with no floor under it and no ceiling over it, and left there to wait for a judgment that is still ages away from arriving. And deeper into that same dark, the angel shows Enoch one more thing, 7 stars, burning like 7 great mountains, bound and rolling in the empty black, not people. Stars punished, held down here for breaking a command they were given at the very beginning of things. And this is not just the old book talking to itself. Centuries later, the New Testament keeps returning to the same idea. It speaks of the abyss, the bottomless place. And in one short, cold line, a letter written by Peter reaches back and borrows a word from the old Greek underworld, Tartarus. Angels who sinned, chained in gloom, held under guard until the end. Different writers, the same picture. Something that fell, locked away in the dark, waiting. This is as far into the darkness as Enoch is taken. A locked pit, built for the things that fell out of heaven, with a watch kept on it. The gray country, the 4 rooms, and now angels chained in the black, counting down to a day that has not come. And still, nowhere in any of it, the fire everyone was promised. So where is it? To finally find it, you have to do the one thing nobody expects. You have to climb back up, out of the pit, out of the dark, up through the gray, all the way back into daylight. Because the fire everyone is looking for is not waiting at the bottom of Enoch's mountain. Picture an ordinary afternoon outside the walls of Jerusalem, a crowd standing in the sun, listening to a teacher. And when that teacher wants to warn them, really warn them, about throwing a life away, he does not say Sheol. He does not say the abyss. He uses a different word, Gehenna. And here is what that word actually was. Gehenna is not a spirit world. It is not a floor beneath the floor. It is a place you could walk to before the sun went down. A real valley on the south side of the city with a real name, the Valley of Hinnom. Everybody in that crowd knew it. Cursed ground. A place with an ugly history buried in its soil. A place their own grandparents had learned to fear and stay away from, sitting right there just outside the walls of the holy city. So when the teacher named the end of a wasted life, he was not naming a hidden furnace under the earth. He was naming a valley on the edge of town with a gate you could walk out of. And there, above ground, in the sunlight, for the first time in this whole descent, fire finally comes into the picture the way you always imagined it. Flame and smoke and a name that slowly stopped meaning a valley and started meaning judgment itself. But a valley is still just a valley. It has edges. You can turn your back on it and walk away. It is not the end of everything, and the story has exactly one page left. That last page sits at the very end of the Bible, a vision handed to a man named John, and what he is shown is the end of the world itself. The dead come back, all of them. The sea gives up the bodies inside it. The grave gives up the ones it swallowed. Everyone who ever went down is standing up. And then John sees the thing that turns this entire descent over in your hands. Death itself and Hades, the very land of the dead where this whole journey started, are picked up and thrown into a lake of fire. Stop right there, because everything hangs on this one line. If Hades is thrown into the fire, then Hades was never the fire. The gray, the 4 rooms, the waiting and the crying and the canyon, the chained angels in the pit. Every floor we passed was something that came before the final fire, a place of waiting, a place of separation. In some of them, already a place of suffering, but none of them the Lake John sees here at the end. And now all of it, the whole underworld, is emptied out and thrown into the one flame that had been kept waiting at the finish the entire time, and death itself is thrown in after it. There it is, the thing the whole crowd came for, and look at where it finally was. Not at the moment you die, not in the gray, not in any of the 4 rooms, not in the pit of the chained. At the very end of everything, after every other place is emptied and finished, lit last of all. So late that death itself gets thrown into it. The fire was the last page. It was never the whole book. And here is what became of all of it. Somewhere across 2,000 years, the gray country, the 4 rooms, the crying, the pit, the valley, and the last flame got pressed down flat into one small word: hell. One door, one crowd, one fire. The whole map folded shut inside a single syllable. Make of that what you will.